All right. Well, hey team, it's Dee Corchin, and we are here for our monthly executive director and above call. We do this call specifically for you. We've talked about this for, for leadership to come together as a community, to learn together, to often get your input, answer your questions, and really, really excited because today we've got a special guest, Dan Bell, with us. So thank you, Dan, for carving out time in your schedule. And if you didn't know, Dan had a birthday yesterday. So happy birthday to Dan.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, that's good. But just a couple of things before we turn it over. I want to really optimize our time. We're here to 3:45 with Dan, but just wanted to remind you guys, really excited that we get to feature our team on tonight's Monday night Optimal Health Community Call. So Julie Apple and I are hosting. Meg did a great job 2 weeks ago when she and her team were able to facilitate that. And tonight it is Julie Apple and myself, and we've got three great clients that are going to share their stories on the topic of transition, which is good. And so it's fun to be able to support. So invite your clients. Hope you guys will be on, blow up the chat, and invite your clients to be with us. And then we've also got Dr. A and Nick Johnson on a pilot basis are offering the coach business calls. And the next one is this Wednesday night. It's March 8th. I did post about it in our group, but it's March 8th. And they don't record those calls. So if you can be online, mark your calendar, save the date and be on, it's going to be well worth it. And then I just said it before, but I want to welcome Susan. I know Susan Palace is in the house and some of the coaches and executive directors and above from her team. So welcome. But one thing that I'm really glad about, and I don't know if you guys are aware, I mean, Dan is one of the originals, the OG with Dr. A, and just a wealth of wisdom. You get to see him, on trainings and things like that, but we're lucky because Dan is one of my mentors, and he said yes enthusiastically to spending some time with our team. So I took some of your questions, and we're gonna have Dan address those, and then maybe do a little Q&A if there's time at the end. But Dan, I think we're a team of vulnerability and just calling out the elephant in the room. And I think one of the things we wanted to really just lean in and talk to you about is just really the state of the world, the state of the economy, the past few months in Optavia. And really we know you've been through the ups and downs through the years. So really get your wisdom and input on how do you handle this and what do you recommend for us?
Okay, well, first off, thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here with all of you. And I don't know how many of you were on Saturday, but we had a good time on Saturday on that call. And I'm glad you're here. So you're asking me about the economy. Well, to your point, I've been around a while. It was my birthday. I got a little, tread worn on my tires, so to speak. And so when you have to expect the unexpected in business and in life. I mean, there's never a straight shot to anything. There's never always a smooth ride. Things come up that were unexpected. Maybe you don't welcome them and so on. So yeah, we've kind of had a bumpy road in the economy. I mean, we hit some really high inflation marks. And I think there's reservation with some people in the economy. But what you know is that it's cyclical. It's just the way it is. And, you may not like it, but it doesn't shake your tree. I mean, my confidence in my vision and how I see where we're going in the business isn't shaken at all. It's just sometimes you hit a bump or two. And, when you look at the costs of living, it's particularly hard hit is the segment food and transportation. Excuse me. And so I think sometimes there's some consumers that kind of, trim their sales a little bit. But which is interesting, consumer buying last month was really high. I mean, it's kind of baffled a lot of economists. Why are people spending money? Because the truth of the matter is over 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and a lot of six-figure people do, by the way, live paycheck to paycheck. They spend what they earn. The payday's exchange day, right? But the truth of the matter is we look out, the demand is still enormous for what we do. We, without a doubt, in my opinion, we have the best solution for people, because it's not just weight loss, it's lifestyle change, it's all the mental side of a healthy mind stuff that we do. And sometimes if you've never experienced that, sometimes, your emotion can like blind your logic. I mean, when you know that there's 72% of Americans overweight, we know that and 42% are obese, we know that we have a solution for that. So, as I said, nothing shakes my tree, because the foundations of what we do are really, really strong. And a lot of it is sometimes people let their emotions run rampant, and they think the sky is falling, and they feel the victim, and woe is me, and how come this didn't work out? And they think like, oh, they get the scarcity mentality, like, oh, what's wrong? And, the foundations of our business model are really strong. The company financially is very strong. So a lot of it has to do with, us as individuals. How are we going to react to this? You've heard the old story about, engineers say that bumblebees can't fly, right? The body is too big for the size of their wings. And so logically, they're not supposed to be able to get airborne, but they can't read, right? And sometimes we let things affect us. Whereas, I'm saying you need to be aware. I'm very aware, right? If you watched my talk on Saturday, I mean, I look at stuff. I do research on stuff, and there's an adaptability aspect. But the point of this is how's it going to affect you? Because your business, your individual business, where you are in your business, is really is a reflection of how you think and how you feel and how you project yourself, right? So your leadership is key. And if you set the tone for your team and you don't focus your energy on things that aren't going to move you forward, I don't want to say you're thinking negative. I mean, maybe you're concerned, but I basically chase away any doubts that you have, because if you're harboring any of those thoughts, if those things are kind of got you somewhat paralyzed or afraid or worried, understand there's other people in Optavia that are blowing it out of the water, right? And I always say and I mean that. I mean, I look across the board. Yes, some of my teams were down a little bit in February, but some of them were up. And so you say, well, why? We fish from the same pond, right? I mean, we primarily we are a U.S.-based company, and all over the United States. And so, as coaches, we are, the pool of people that we have to reach out to for helping them create health, or those we reach out to for becoming coaches, it's pretty much the same pond. And but if you don't cast your, if you don't throw your line in the water, nothing happens. I mean, if you're sitting on the shore or you're not in your boat or you're not fishing from the shore, you're not going to catch anything. And so sometimes, as I said, you let your emotion blind your logic. And there's ways. For me, it's always been, okay, well, maybe I need to talk to more people. But I refuse to let anything shake my tree. I'm not gonna do that, because I know that that things can change, and they can change in a hurry. Let me give you an example in the business. So back when COVID hit 3 years ago, about this time, everybody was scared to death. I mean, in the whole country, the whole world was alarmed, right? And people in Optavia, we never had faced that before. So some people are, they were holding on to their binky and their blanket really hard, because they were afraid. And so what you do in a time like that is you take bold steps. I remember we had a conversation with IPDs, and Nick was asking for some. I said, you got to go big, and you got to go now. And that's what they did. They took that advice. And so they came up with a couple incentives, and we blew it out of the water. In fact, we grew so fast that the supply chain didn't keep up, if you recall. So that was another issue that we had to deal with. But we became the second fastest growing company in the world. Now, we could have all hunkered down and said, we'll wait for this to go by, but we can do something. We can stand up and we can do something. And what you can control is what you do. And when I say your leadership is key, anybody that's a coach or a client on your team is watching you. They're seeing how you handle this. They're looking at your attitude. They're looking at the way that that you're processing this. And if you're focusing on what you don't want, you get more of what you don't want, honestly. If you focus on what you want, you get more of what you want. So it's not like, like I said, that the sky is falling. It's not falling at all. Obviously, we've had a little bump in the road in the economy. I mean, there's concerns, there's always concerns somewhere in the world, right? Some people thinking we might go to World War III. That's a big concern for a lot of people. I don't have any control over that. What I can control is my attitude, my actions, right? I can control those things, and I can control how I interact with other people and meet them where they are. I'm not saying that I'm not putting anybody down here. You asked me what's some advice? What's my advice? Because I've been in business 40 some years, and I've seen a lot. And to me, it's just part of the process, right? It's like here in Sanibel. I'm in Sanibel right now, and I got a crew out here. They're putting in landscaping, and I've got a crew out here that's rebuilding my lanai, my pool cage. They all came today, right? And when the hurricane hit, some people they didn't know what to do. They were like deer in headlights. They oh my whole, we lost everything, and all this stuff, right? And I'm going, okay. I live on a sandbar. Things like this happen. Unfortunately, we happen to be in the bullseye. Okay, I can't control what happened, but what I can control is what I do moving forward. And I've chosen, like so many people on this island, to say, hey, this is a beautiful island. We're going to bring it back. We're going, and so individually, that's what we've done. Okay, and we got a ways to go on this island yet because it was hit really hard. But some people, they just took their ball and went off the playing field and put their house up for sale and said, well, I'm not coming back. But a lot of us, we just hunker down because you just realize it's life. It's just a process. So anyway, I think I covered that.
Well, I know what you say is true, Dan. And I just get, you told me once there's that calm, and it's like when you know what you know, and, it's obvious you're grounded, what we offer. And even if, it is a rough time, what we have is the best. And I know from experience, guys, I was checking in on Dan when that hurricane was coming, and he was steady. I've got my family, everybody's safe. It's just stuff. Really had a great perspective on it all. One thing that we're noticing, and a lot of our, coaches and leaders came in during COVID when social media was such a thing, right? It was just really a lot of us built our businesses from behind our computer. It's not how, I learned differently. That's, in my time, social media wasn't as big of a thing, but it was really like a boom town. And just not generating the same kind of results from that anymore. And for somebody who really hasn't gone out and made phone calls or whatever, what would you say would be your best advice for somebody who's really serious and wants to weather this and build their business?
So I've always looked at it like there's a lot of different, there's different modalities that we have to grow our business, right? I mean, when I started in this industry, we had a telephone. And we didn't even have faxes. That's how long back I started in the industry. Okay. And, tape recorders, reel to reel were the thing, honestly. So times change, the fundamentals don't change, but techniques and technology changes. And you have to be adaptable, right? Maybe you have to stretch in a little bit different direction. And I hope that everybody here was on the boot camp call on Saturday, because I covered this for about an hour with Dawn and Terry, this very thing about picking up the phone. So, we're in a business where we need to have new potential clients and coaches come into our life. We have to keep our we used to call it a prospect list, a candidate list, a warm. You have to have, because if you don't have anybody to talk to, you're pretty much out of business, right? So you go back to all of the different ways that we have. Again, excuse me, I had some coffee. I shouldn't have had it before I got on this phone. But there's so many different ways that we have to reach out and meet people. And COVID has changed society. It was quite a shock. But when you look about the human connection, people want to be with other people. They want to talk to other people. They just don't want to read a text or go on social media. I mean, that's all good. So I'm not putting social media down. It's just one modality to meet people. If you're doing a great job as a coach with your clients and you're plugging them in and integrating them using the 4 components, and they're getting results, we know that, I mean, this is old school, man. Their neighbors notice, their friends notice, their people at church, the people at work, they all notice. And so if you're working that part properly, referrals should be coming your way as a consistent way of bringing on board new people. You say, well, I got, a lot of my connections were made through Facebook. Should I stop doing Facebook? I would say, no, don't stop doing Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media that you like. I would say continue to do that, but let's broaden ourselves. What are some areas that we that we can meet people, right? And maybe it's joining a club, or maybe a Facebook group that you have an interest in. Maybe it's gardening or whatever. Maybe it's your college sports team. I don't know. Everybody has different stuff, right? Maybe let's say if you like to hike, maybe it's joining a group of people in your area that go hiking or biking, where you can get out and actually make a human connection, where you can meet people. And then also, we go back to this thing where, it's been easy for people on Facebook. It's a shortcut, right? You post a before and after picture, people start responding, you go back and forth with some conversation with them, you get them on the phone, right? It's been sort of passive, right? So maybe a new skill for some of you to learn. I mean, Dee could teach you this because this is how she grew up in the business. Is how do you talk to people? How do you meet people? How do you talk to them? You have people right now that if you sat down and went through the potential clients and coaches list, all those questions, you have people right now that you have not talked to because you're afraid to talk to them. I know that's true for most of you. And so you have to ask yourself the question, what am I afraid of? Why wouldn't I want to pick up the phone? Well, maybe it's either something up here in your head or it's a skill. Both of those are overcomable. You're looking at a guy that was an introvert. And the only way I had to reach out to people, and my business back in those days was a recruiting business. It wasn't so much a sales or support type of business. We were sponsoring people. And that was very hard for me, okay? But I had to just get out myself out of my own way, focus on who I was talking to and how this potentially could help them. And with enough practice, I got good at it. Okay. I mean, I got good. So it became, I became unconsciously competent, not just consciously competent, but just unconsciously competent, because it became part of how I interacted with people. And so often we let fear kind of be the thing that holds us back. I know Dr. A is going to talk about fear on his Conscious Leadership Forum tomorrow. But fear is a funny thing. We worry about stuff that generally never happens. If you think about it, all the stuff that we worry about, probably 80, 90% of it never happens. And the 10 or 15 or 20% that does happen, we probably can't do much about it, right? And so getting back to what Dee said about having a calm about it, our business is built on the law of averages and the law of large numbers. In other words, if we're fishing from the same pond, if we consistently are working our business, good things are going to happen. You might have a streak where you might go 5 or 10 in a row and strike out and feel like, oh my, something's wrong. And maybe something is. Maybe you need to go to your business coach and kind of figure out where where usually a little tweak here and there, something you're saying or some thing you're projecting, something you're posturing or not posturing, and it's fixable, right? But you might go 10 in a row and not have any success at all. And then the next 10, you might find that 7 or 8 people are interested. It's just weird the way that works. So, so what to get just to kind of finish up on this part, what I would say is, broaden your horizons, figure out other ways that you can meet people. Maybe you can do trade shows. Maybe you can do a health fair at a company or at a church. There's all kinds of, maybe you could just learn the habit of, just reaching out and talking to people and understanding that skill to be able to transfer that conversation into, see if somebody creating some interest. And by the way, all that stuff is on fundamental skills training. I taught that. I gave people scripts and whole kinds of stuff on how to do that. So it's all in there if you want to review it. Dee?
Yeah, I think that's so good, Dan. And I think really, and also getting clear on our motivation, right? Like, what is it we want, right? And letting that motivation pull us past the fear or the excuses or whatever. I've always loved your, if I was going to give you $1 million,
yeah,
would you go out and, and I used that was somebody with a client that was struggling with her water intake and she had every reason why she couldn't do it. And I was like, well, Robin, I got a question. If I gave you $1 million, would you be able to get your water in? Guess who's getting her water in every day? Like she just is looking at it different. So that clicked with me that, if we looked at it that way, it's out there. We just have to move past it.
Yeah. And Dee, just to that point, everybody here is in business for themselves, but you're not in business by yourself, right? You have mentors and supporters that want to see you grow, because as we each grow, it just strengthens the whole body of coaches, right? And I know that this is ED and up, and a lot of you folks are looking to build your business beyond where you are. And, I would go to, I would ask you in terms of your mental state right now, what is your motivation? See, because sometimes we can let a little down period defeat us, or it can motivate us. It can, like, I am not going to be denied. Are you kidding me? Give it to me. I'm not going to be denied. This is going to happen. I'm going to beat down that door of success till it opens, right? So I would say, on that side, I was talking about motivation, mindset, and skills, right? So if you're looking to grow a bigger business and you want to, move, if you're at a plateau right now, or if you slightly move back, or you're just growing slower, I would say, number one, reconnect to your goals or set new goals. Set something that will inspire you and get you excited, get you up in the morning. When you go to bed, you're thinking about it. It's something that's really burning with you, because the goal has to be emotionalized. It has to be something that stirs up emotion in you, right? And then you go ahead and you put blinders on. If you go to Central Park or any place where they have horse-drawn carriages back in the day when everybody was driving horses, blinders are these things they put on the side of the horse so the horse won't get spooked, right? And what spook means, if you've ever been on a horse and they've been spooked, they're going to jump sideways or bolt ahead and so forth. So you put your blinders on so you stay focused on what you want. You don't pay any attention to the flamethrowers or the naysayers or people that are trying to steal your dream. That's not going to do anything for you, okay? And you see yourself in receipt of the goal that you set. And seeing yourself in the receipt of the goals that you set go beyond just yourself. It goes beyond the personal satisfaction of that, or the financial aspects of that, or the recognition aspects of that. Because understand, for you to achieve any bigger goal, you're going to have much more impact in the lives of other people. So you set goals, right? But you understand at the end of the day, it's a win-win. And whatever you do, goals that you achieve are going to impact people in a positive way. So that's first thing. What do you want? And it's not just, well, yeah, I want to be FIBC by convention. Well, that's good. How committed to that are you? I mean, how is it okay if you miss it? And if it's really in there, it's, I mean, if I miss it, I miss it, right? But it isn't okay. All right, it's not okay. I don't want to miss it. So I'm going to start now and put together a game plan to make sure I'm FIBC, or I'm an integrated national or integrated regional, or whatever your goal has to be. So number one, find out what it is that's your hot button that'll move you in the direction you want to go. Then when you look at mindset, in terms of mindset, I'd say believe in yourself. Stop doubting. Stop playing the victim role. Because quite frankly, if somebody is down because their business went down 5% or 10% or whatever, on a month they thought it would go up 5 or 10%, you're playing the victim. It's not helping you, right? So I would say stop doubting yourself, believe in yourself, believe in your dreams. And as I said just a minute ago, see yourself in receipt of the goal. In other words, visualize where you're going to be. And don't let anybody shake your tree. Don't let anybody steal your dream or put you down in any way at all. Protect that ego, because you're fighting for something that's important to you, okay? And that's, you're contending for that in your life. So the mindset, the whole mind piece, when I talk about, that having that calm, it's because you know the outcome. It's like you saw the end of the movie. You know what the end of the movie is. You're just, you're just in the third quarter of the movie, so to speak, or halfway through the movie. And then when you know what you want and you got your head in a place where, you're building your confidence, and sometimes you do have to fake it to yourself till you make it. And that's not being deceitful. That's just visualizing where you're going. See yourself and receive the goal, standing in the future, acting in the now. That's what all that's all about. And then, of course, the third step of that is your skill set. So what do you need areas? Are there areas in your skill set? So back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago. If you were primarily dependent on developing potential clients or coaches from social media, and it's not getting the same results it used to, well, then you just broaden the different ways, think of different ways that you can go out and meet people, right? If you find that you are hitting, you're doing the do, maybe we talk about separating the approach from the presentation, from the health assessment or the Explorer. And you have trouble with that, it's a skill, it's a learnable skill. So, work on that. I mean, I remember when I moved, I had a successful career in this industry long before I ever encountered Dr. A, right? And so I was initially on the inside. I was executive vice president of Take Shape for Life when it was formed. And so I had to create the comp plan and the policies and the business model. I did all that. And then after a year, I went out into the field. And I distinctly remember this. I had a list of people, I had my list right here. I got my list. And guess what? I had a little call reluctance after all those years, 20 some years of experience, lots of confidence. And I had a little call reluctance. And I said, okay, hotshot, if you're so hot, pick up the phone. That's what I said to myself. Okay, I'm telling you the truth. Because, action, if you want to cure fear, you get into action. That's number one. So if you want to move to the next level, number one, I would really embrace this client support bonus. And a minimum 3 new clients a month, but as a leader, 5 should be something that you do on, you're doing a canter with 5, you're not doing a gallop. Okay. And if you embrace that and get excited about, number one, the cure for the blues in Optavia is one of 2 things. Either you bring on board a new client or you bring on a new coach. So if you're feeling sorry for yourself, Or your business is not growing. Let's take a look back in the last month. How many new clients did you bring on board? How many new coaches did you bring on board? And how many did your team bring on board? And is what's the team's bringing on board a reflection of what you are doing or not doing, okay? And if you're not doing, then as a leader, you set the pace and you say, okay, hotshot, pick up the phone, right? You're going to go ahead and you're going to do the do. You're going to do what it takes. So number one, embrace that, because that'll create personal momentum in your own head. You'll be excited about it. And your excitement then will trigger other people. That's a whole lot better way of moving your business forward than commiserating with other people and saying, oh, my business was down this month, or gee whiz, I thought I'd be further along by now. And you're telling that to your coaches. Well, you're just giving them a disease they don't need, okay? What you need to do in that case is to say, okay, I'm going to be the leader of my team. I'm going to set the pace. So number one, really embrace this client support bonus. Number two, come to Dallas. If you haven't registered for the Dallas event, it's all Dallas event is about getting the skill sets, the mindset, and the motivation to go ahead and move to become a global, right? It's really for the launch to a bigger career in Optavia. And as I said on Saturday, if you're sitting at home and on that Saturday in, the Friday and Saturday when we have the event in Dallas, and you're sitting at home, there's nothing you're going to do at home that's going to motivate you more than what will happen if you're in Dallas. There's nothing you're going to sit at home where you're going to get the skill sets that you need to move forward if you're sitting at home. Okay. So, I mean, it's up to you. Everybody's independent. You say, well, Dan, my business is down, or my income is down, or things cost more money, blah, blah. We'll figure it out. Okay. I said something sincerely. I said to folks Saturday, have a yard sale. I mean, honestly, you probably have stuff around your house you haven't used in 5 or 10 years. You drag it out and have a yard sale, and you'll probably make a couple $1,000 and use that money to go to Dallas so you can invest in your future. That's what I would say. Okay. And then what I would tell you, if you are a leader and you have EDs on your team, I would give them the same advice. Come to Dallas, because the idea behind this spring event is obviously to move people to ED so they can qualify for the Dallas event. It's a privilege to be at that event, and then to gain the knowledge, motivation, and mindset from that Dallas event so that you're bringing your team to convention. Okay, so this is all about, events are all about creating momentum, right? Now, the other thing is, as well as embracing this client support bonus, I would say sponsor some new coaches. Sponsor some new coaches, because there's nothing, like I said, it's a universal cure. When you see the excitement in somebody else's eyes, what they can do, and then that's a reward in itself. But then really pay attention to the details of getting them started properly, because it's the coach's responsibility, the mentors, the sponsor's responsibility in the first 30 days to get that coach up and running. And get that coach up and running, you can double dip with this, the client support bonus, as well as the client acquisition bonus. You could, what they call it now, I forgot what it is. You know what it is. It's the 250, right? And you can double dip on that. Both bonuses count. So you're putting somebody in a financial position starting out where they're hitting senior coach. They're excited, you're excited, and you're mentoring them through that process. It takes some a work to roll up your sleeves and do that with them, but that's what the apprenticeship program is all about. So you set your goals with your current coaches, right? And when you sit down and set goals with your current coaches and you look at them, you actually draw it out on a piece of paper. And when you draw there, a line between them and you ask the question, what do they want? Where are they? What's their talent? What's their potential? And are they moving towards their potential, or are they stuck? And once you kind of put yourself in their mindset, stop thinking about you, but think about them and where they want to go in the business. You find you do some goal setting. We got March, April, May, June. That's 5 months, right? 5 months. Heck, if they brought in a coach a week, a client a week, they'd be ED by the end of June. I mean, really, uh, and ED, four or five clients a month. If you get your folks motivated to want to take advantage of this client support bonus, and you goal set with them, you could have an explosion. You could turn your business around so fast. But again, it comes down to what are you willing to do, and where's your mindset? Are you willing to invest some time with them, maybe work a little bit harder to get things moving? So anyway, Dee, I talked a lot, and hope that was helpful.
No, it's really helpful. And I think your what you said about the negative thinking and whatever, go get some new coaches. I think sometimes there's fear. There's fear sometimes even on our, I know I felt it for years, and I think there's fear out there with some on our team that, okay, I bring them on and then they feel like they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do, or it's a lot of responsibility to help them get up and running. So then they almost maybe subconsciously don't really want a new coach because there's fear. So how do you work through that? Does that make sense?
So they're making more of it than they need to. The question you have to write this down is what do they need to do next? Okay, what do they need to use? You bring me on board and I'm excited. What do? Do you give me a national convention lecture? Do you give me a lot of stuff to do, or you just say, Dan, hey, listen, who's on your heart? Who would you like to share this with? Let's get a list together. Let's get started. Well, I don't know all this yet. Don't worry. Trust me. I know how to do this. We'll go ahead and I'll work with you, and I'll do it with you in the beginning. And then we'll do it together, and then I'll watch you do it. Okay. That's part of it's a mentorship team. So what we need to do is we need to have a list of people that we can reach out to. Okay. All right. Then you have to teach me how to reach out to them. Right. And sometimes people like the path of least resistance. They want to, and I'm not saying don't post before and after pictures on Facebook. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying that there's a warm list of people that you could pick up the phone with, and you could learn a little script. So you tell them, and like you teach me that script, and I actually don't use it as a script. I use bullet points, and we can make a connection where you're talking to my client candidates. That's what you need to do next. All right. So in the beginning, what they need to do is make a list and learn how to reach out to people. Don't make it more complicated than that. It's not more complicated than that. Okay. And then if and when they sponsor somebody, then they're going to learn how do you place the order. Then they're going to learn what do you send to that client. And then they're going to learn how, what do we do the night before the client starts? And what do we do the first 3 days? And they learn as they do. So what a mistake a lot of people make is, to your point, Dee, I agree with you. There people get paralyzed because they think there's this big massive stuff that they got to learn. Just go back to the basics. To get somebody started, you need a list, and they need to know how to approach the person to create interest so a health assessment is set up. That's all they need to know. And once from there, they'll get excited, and they will learn. I remember back in the early days, when we were learning how to deal with physicians. We'd sponsor a physician, and then the physician would say, well, I want the staff member to coach. We'd fly in and we'd spend time with the staff member. We'd teach them how to do all this stuff, and they never brought on a client. Well, so we changed our habits. What we did was we said, okay, let's go ahead and let's have a meeting at your office, and let's send out a flyer and an email, some way of contacting these folks. Put a thing up in the office that we're going to have a weight loss and wellness event on Thursday night at 6:30, and then we get RSVP. People sign up. They show up at the event. And we do a little bit of overview of what we do. We had a health assessment there. You could use the jot form now. And we signed people up. So all of a sudden now we have patients signed up, and we've got some staff member that doesn't know what to do. So then we start teaching the staff member how to interact with the client. They're ready to learn because they have a client. Okay, all this other stuff is just academic to them. It's just noise. It doesn't make any sense to them at all. So we want to focus on the things that are going to create momentum, and which is bring on board a new client or bring on board a new coach. And from there, that's when they're going to learn all this other stuff, and they're going to come plug into our Monday night calls, and they'll eventually the boot camps and come to events. But you gradually bring somebody in. If you throw a lot of stuff on a brand new coach, they're going to think this is more work than I can do in the time I have. And the other thing you want to do with a new coach is make sure that you connect them right out of the gate with your mentorship team, so they understand that it's that they have you and they have other people that are part of their support.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice. Well, we are in the last few minutes of the call, so we probably have time for maybe one or two people to either come off mute or raise your hand and ask Dan something that's on your mind.
I don't bite.
What's your phrase, Dan? You always say leaders lead, right?
Yeah.
Who has a question?
You might have to voluntold them or voluntel.
Voluntel.
Nobody has a question. That's curious. Okay. Comment?
Question or comment?
Anything resonate? Or are you just shy?
I'll make a comment. I can't form a question right now, but this is Michelle, Dan.
Yeah, hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good.
First of all, I just want to thank you for taking time to meet with us and to pour out your knowledge on us. And I do think it's been, we go, at least for me, when you don't grow as fast as you want, or you're working hard and then you get discouraged because things happen in your business, that has been that's a reality. Like, I'm dealing with that with some of my coaches on my team right now.
Mhm.
And that mindset piece is so huge.
Yep.
For growth. Like, I'm not anywhere where I expected to be by this time, given the amount of work I was doing and people coming on board and things like that. But sometimes I struggle with, okay, how do you help them or inspire them if they don't have the internal motivation? I don't know that you can. Like, what do you do? How can you help people?
Well, you can't make somebody do something. I mean, they have to want to do it on their own, right? It has to be intrinsic motivation from them. So how do we do it? We do it through questioning, through awakening them, through questioning. We do it by stories. We do it by finding somebody that has a similar story to where they are, right? And we believe in them. Okay, we say, hey, it's okay. We believe in them, and I don't give up on people. Okay, so. I mean, I'm there. My job is, I can't do it for them. I can do it with them. But if they're going through a struggle, you have to look at, okay, I'm not growing, and I feel bad. I'm not growing, and so you say, okay, well, let's talk about it. So how many new clients did you bring on last month?
Are you asking me?
No, I'm just saying. I'm going through it. And they would say, well, none. Okay, all right. So how many people did you talk to, actually have a conversation with about setting up a health assessment? None. Okay, or one, or they say, I keep trying and nothing happens. Well, you have to dig into that, because that's sometimes a smokescreen. In their mind, they don't think they're growing. They're not growing because they're not They're not doing the do.
Right.
Okay, okay, so, if somebody came to me and said, Dan, I did 10 health assessments and nobody became a client. We need to talk about that. Okay, because there's something going on. It's either their motivation, their mindset, their skills. It's probably a combination of mindset and skills, right? They might be telling and selling versus sharing and caring. They might be talking too much, not asking enough questions. They may not know how to, do the ask at the end, where
Right.
do you want to get started? Or they might have somebody interested and they don't follow up on them. We got to we got to do a little diagnostics on it, right? That's what I would say. But the first thing I would say to them is, do you want to grow?
Mm,
Do you want to grow? And what does the grow mean to you? Why did you get started in Optavia? What did you hope to gain from it? And so I'm going to try to dig in to find out where, if I see in my brain, in an analytical way, I look at those things because mindset and motivation, mindset, and skills either create or don't create the action, right? So if there's no action, it's usually a combination of those three things, or it could be a specific one, right? And so if somebody's not doing something, it might be that they don't have a big enough dream big enough to overcome their fear. I mean, so if they're afraid, so let's analyze, what are you afraid, what is it that's concerning to you? I don't know if I would say afraid of, but I might. What is concerning of you? And what you might find is they just don't have anybody to talk to.
mm,
Okay. And so if we're there, then we have to start working on different ways to fulfill the funnel, right? But that you have to have a conversation with them. It's not, you can't always take on face value what they say as the real cost, right? Because people are going to tell you what they think you want them, what they think you want to hear. And that doesn't help either of you. That's not being authentic. If I'm going to help you and you messed up somewhere in your business, then there's a team, no judgment. Let's figure out what it is. Let's work on it, because it's most everything in Optavia is learnable. And then you're all at the ED level and up. That means you have those interpersonal skills probably. You probably have the people side of it. So if you're not growing, it might be, I just ask you, how many health assessments did you do last week? How many explorers did you do last month? And if the answer is 0, 0, well, what do you expect? It's not telepathy. That's why I put telepathy as one of the choices on the polls that I did on Saturday, because it doesn't happen by that. You can't do a Vulcan mind meld with them. Okay.
right.
I'm having fun with you, but you get the point.
No, I understand. I appreciate that
Yeah.
very much. Thank you.
And sometimes you have to say they're not ready yet. I love them, but if I'm looking to go global or presidential, they're a horse on the farm, but they're not in the stall. I mean, they're not ready to rock it. So
Right.
so often we want something so bad for somebody else that we invest all this emotional stuff into them, and they're just not ready. So that person, you love on them, you keep them plugged in, make sure they're coming to convention and so on, because you work with them on areas that they're weak on. But if you have people that they send you their map every month and it's the same every month, we got to figure out what's going on here.
That's so good.
Great advice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I will tell you from experience, Susan Palace always held my feet to the fire. When I had a pity party, she'd always say, well, how many people did you call this week? I mean, and she'd always put me in my place, but she was right. She was right.
Yeah.
So Meredith, I saw your hand was up. Thank you guys who are staying on. I know we usually go till 3:45. So if you have to go, we understand. We'll give this just one more question with Meredith. Dan, if you're okay with time. Can
Yeah.
you
I'm
take
okay.
one more?
Yeah.
Just one more and then we'll close out. Meredith.
So yeah, so my question is, so I've got a couple coaches that they had a lot of growth initially, and forward progress, but it seems like their own health has kind of taken a back seat right now, and so has their business. But it's something where it's like they're not ready to take a step forward in their health. To get back on track. Do you have any suggestions for navigating that with coaches?
Okay, so Meredith, I don't know the conversation you've had with them, but the conversation I would have with somebody like that is, well, just look at the obvious, right? If their health is going the wrong way, if they're regaining weight, then they're not feeling authentic. And for them, it's hard for them to reach out to other people. That's just the way it is. I mean, I've had enough coaches to know that if your health's not in order, it does affect your business, right? I mean, so many people have had this wonderful weight loss story, but it's weight loss it's not the program. They lost weight because they use this feelings, and they put their before and after picture up, or the people that they know saw them, and boom, they go ED, they grow like crazy or whatever. But then if they start falling backward, and that conversation comes down to finding out what is really important to them and where the miss is, right? And I always do it. I'm never judgmental, ever. I'm never judgmental with people I work with, because I know we all have stuff. We all have things that we deal with that other people might not even know about, right? So I usually ask a question like this. So I would say, well, Meredith, I've noticed that your business isn't where you want it to be, or you reached out to me, and I'll say, let's go back to when you first got started. What was it that was driving your actions in the business? Why were you doing? What were you hoping to gain from it? And they'll say, well, I lost this weight, and I wanted to save the world, and I wanted to quit my job, and whatever, right? I mean, whatever that reason is. And I would say to them, well, are those things still true? I mean, let's say they wanted to quit their job, I want to make enough money to send my kids to private school. I want to make enough money to send my kids to college. I want to make enough money to leave my job or to build a house, whatever it is. You got to find out what it is that they want. And I would simply say, well, is that still true? If you were making enough money, would you want to still send your kids to college, or put your grandma in nursing home or whatever, right? I would ask that question. And I would say, so let me ask you, and again, my situation with you is I'm your friend and I'm your business mentor in this. And you've come to me. Do I have permission to coach you? Yes. So is it okay if I ask you some questions? Yes. So, can I ask you what's changed? What's changed for you? Because, I look at you and I see so much talent and ability. I see a big heart. I see where you could, you really have a lot to give. And I want to help you because I see that there's something here that's holding you back. Do you want to talk about that? And eventually it might come down to, well, I gained my weight back, or I gained some weight back, and I feel authentic. And I said, okay. So is that okay with you? Well, no. And I would say, okay, would you want to do something about that? Would you like me to help you with that? If we could get you back into health, back on a healthy track, not necessarily you have to come back to the weight you were a year ago, but start the road back to recovery. Would you want me to help you with that? Okay. And I'm giving you guys examples of questions that you ask people, but it's never about me. It's never about judgment. I'm trying to help them, right? And you got to be careful how you ask those questions, because you got to get permission. We're not psychologists. We're friends. We're trying to figure out together what we need to do to help the person move forward. Okay. And when people know that you care about them, we can then set into play a a game plan for them and help make them accountable. And, you might have to go, if you sponsor them, you might have to really dig in and coach them again as a health coach. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well,
Okay.
Dan, I can't thank you enough for spending time with us today. I know your time is precious, your demands are high. So thank you for investing in us, and hopefully see the comments coming in. Everybody appreciated it. And thanks guys for being on. We'll see you tonight on Team Time. Thanks for being here.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Thank you.